the sound off. Good evening, or actually, good morning, Warriors. How did you enjoy that last night? Okay. Public domain, right? Curse of Bigfoot. I believe it was a made for TV movie, right? And hits the pits, man. Oh my God. The look on that first guy's face, right? When he sees the creature walking through the woods at the very beginning, right? It was the guy and his buddy, right? And it was just like, and it was downhill from there. This is one of the, like Doc said, it'd be a great movie to riff, right? If that was our format, we would have had a blast with that, because it was just so many things as you're watching it. You're like, really, really, come on, you know. And like our special guest host last night said, oh my goodness, my allergies are killing me, guys. Like our special guest host said, you know, there was nobody in the movie that did anything worthwhile afterwards. That's how you can tell it's a bad movie, right? Like, we've had other movies, right? And the doc will be like, well, don't make fun of Spider Baby, right? Spider Baby did have a decent cast, right? Couple other movies we had that were pretty bad had a decent cast, right? Like Q, right? Michael Moriarty, all those guys were in it, right? But, right, it was just written, directed, everything was horrible. You know, even the actors, sometimes even actors in a bad movie, right, can't save it. Even though Linda Blair and Grizzly Adams kind of did save Chilling, right? Troy Donahue, I mean, you know, he would. Troy Donahue just reminded me of. He's the guy, the good-looking guy that would show up in shows, right? And if you remember, God, there was a guy. I'm going to keep recording. There was a guy that was on Married with Children. He was also on Happy Days. He was on The Love Boat, right? Can't think of his name, right? But he was that good-looking guy, right? All the women wanted him, but he was always that person that they slid in, right, to a show to try to, you know, bring some life back into it. And he sucked as an actor. It's like Troy Donahue. He was not the world's best actor, but he was good looking. You know, eye candy, girls went to see him, you know. It's like Elvis. Elvis was an okay actor, right? But no one went to see Elvis act. They went to see Elvis in the movie, right? Jiggle, right? Sing and dance and all that kind of stuff. And I hope you enjoyed our version of Bigfoot. So, funny story, right? I'm one of those people that I always check Facebook Marketplace, right? And you get free stuff. And a lot of stuff I get for free. I get it for the troop. Like, you know, we got a crock pot last week. We got utensils and things like that, right? Because when you have a troop with a bunch of kids, right? Stuff gets sent home to get clean and never comes back. Right, so then, you know, us as leaders, we have to make sure they have enough stuff when they go camping, yada, 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 yada. Anyway, so I was looking on there one day, and it said they had an Alf costume, a full-size Alf costume, all right? And I'm like, and John had just given us, right, we're going to do this movie, right? So I was telling Doc, right? I said, Doc, I got to get that. So I get it, right? And, you know, I'm a portly kind of guy, right? And it was an XL. Well, I'm a double X, right? And it like, from the back, the whole back was open like this, right? But it just fit me. And it was so hard to wear, right? And then the mask, right? If you notice, like, as I'm talking, sometimes the mask is going in and out, right? Because then I was like, I had to adjust the mask because I had a decent seal, and every time I inhaled, the nose would get sucked into my face, you know. But it was funny, right? And, you know, and the thing is, I only got 1 foot, right? The costume only had 1 foot with it. So when we did it, they were going to catch me walking in with both feet, and I only had the 1 foot, you know. But it worked, right? And you have no idea how hard it is to read our script, right, with the jokes and stuff on it, and like who's in the movie and all that, when you're wearing a mask. Like what I did was I read through it like 3 times, half memorized it. So when it came time for me to read it, right, I could see some words and I sort of knew where everything was going with it. Pardon me. Oh my God, allergies. This will be an abridged the wake, but we had a good time, right? So this past Thursday, the doc and I got together, and we filmed out our videos through the first week of September, right? And the two of us, we're going to be doing it. I'm going to be doing one a month going forward, right? Which you guys pretty much know. I have next week, and I have to get it done. I'm Haunted 3 with Elizabeth Chamberlain from our buddies up at Higher Universe, right? And then the following week, I forget. But the week after that, right, is when we have our thing from Bones Bazaar, right? So last weekend, right, and I might have talked about it on the wake last week. Last weekend, the doc and I went to this mini Comic-Con. Hold on. You like my new mug? Got all our logos on it. Went to a mini Comic-Con called Bones Bazaar. Now, Bones he's a guy, he's really into horror and sci-fi. He made the movie Bigfoot, which we'll talk about, and he wanted to have this event, right? So Doc had seen him, right? Doc got a table, right? And then the backdrop behind us, right? Doc got that too, which was amazing, right? And it was just funny as we're looking at it, right? It's the first scene from us when we did the show last year. Actually, last year on Wednesday was our 1 year anniversary of the first time that we filmed. You know what I mean? Which was a lot of fun because and it was funny because back then, right, Johnny Rios, he wrote the scripts out, right? And I was trying to follow the script, right? And I didn't realize that the doc is almost blind in one eye, right? So I was like, great. I didn't realize that because I'm like, well, you read this part because I can't say it. I'm like, well, I'd make it bigger. He said, I still can't say it. And then he told me, I'm like, all right. So that's why now, right, we ad-lib so much more. And I think it's so much better that we ad-lib. But when I put our bullet points out there, I just put a couple phrases from what went on in the movie for that section, right? And then from that part, right, you know, before we film that part, right, I'll be like, Doc, all right, here's a couple things from the movie that I noticed, right? And he's seen most of the movies, right? So I put him out there. So when he comes for him, like, you know, throw our opinions and stuff, he has more. He has a couple one-liners to throw out there, like me, you know. And there was so many one-liners we could have tossed out last night because last night's movie just sucked. Like Joel used to say on Mystery Science Theater, it sucked, right? And it was just so bad, right? Like I always say it's a travesty, right? And that's my word, right? And it was a travesty. You know what I mean? And it's one of those, again, as you're watching it, you just laugh at it. You know what I mean? And that's the whole deal, right? So I think what we're going to do, one of these episodes, we will do a Mystery Science Theater style episode where, you know, we're actually watching the movie, throwing out one-liners as we're watching it. And the way John and I do it, we'll be ad-libbing, which will make it even funnier, right? Because we'll be like, ooh, we shouldn't have said that, you know? And there was a lot of one-liners that we had to cut out when we were doing our stuff last night because we had one movie, it's called Schizoid, and I'll talk about that, right? But guy's a scissor killer, right? So I go, there's a lot of scissoring going on, not knowing that that's means something else for the alternative community. And I was like, leave it in there because it describes what's going on, right? And we'll get wise ass comments about it, you know. I just thought that was really funny when that part came up, you know. So this week we got Curse of Bigfoot, right? We just finished that, and let me bring up, right? And I was prepared this week. Let me bring up what's going on towards the end of this month. All right, so May. I want June. There we go. All right, so this is what we got coming up. So we have Chilling. We did that 2 weeks ago, Curse of Bigfoot. I'm Haunted 3, where I got the second part of our interview with Elizabeth Chamberlain, right? So basically, it's going to be the movie intro, right? And then the next 2 segments will be Elizabeth talking, and then I'll do the exit, right? But if you get a chance, right, Elizabeth Chamberlain, she is a living doll. She's such a nice person to take her time to talk to this goofball, right? And like I said, it was an hour-long interview, and I was at the end, I was like, holy cow! Like, I can't believe I sat and talked to this lady who I've never met for a whole hour, right? After that, we have Schizoid, right? That's the one I was telling you about with the scissoring, right? Basically, it's a scissor killer. Reverend Jim and Doc Brown from Back to the Future and Taxi. He's going to be in it. God, there's one other person in it that's famous. The last, Marge Hill. She was big in soap operas, right? But anyway, right? Oh, Klaus Kinski. What a wackadoodle he was, right? Oh, wait a minute. That's not... Yeah, that's Schizoid. And then we go to Legend of Crickfoot, our anniversary show on Friday the 13th. Couldn't have picked a better day for it. Our actually first show was the 14th, June 14th last year, right? Where we showed Driller Killer. And if you got a chance to watch the Hollywood thing we did, right? We were posing and stuff, right? That was from those scenes were from Killer Driller, right? And then he's playing he was playing the roosters in the background, you know what I mean? And it was just talk about a baptism of fire for us. And I had never seen Killer Driller before, and when I watched it at home, again, like I said, I always watch them twice, and I was like, I do not want to watch this a second time. After that is Reap, right? Reap is a great movie, right? Acting's kind of meh. Plot was great. 3 of the actors in it, right, have been in other things that we've seen. It's from Bayview Entertainment. It was made up in Trenton, New Jersey. So if you got Brooklyn, it's not that far away. And it was really, really, really good. You guys will enjoy that show. I was kind of blown away because at the beginning, again, it was kind of like horror movies, kind of slow when they're developing characters and stuff. But it got so much better, And then after that, Trinitas, I have no idea. I have to watch that. I'll be doing that one solo. And I have to get that one done early because that's the week I'll be on vacation. Yeah, I do get a vacation. Right? Then we have the ones we have for the summer. So let me go grab them. Line up. May, November, October, September, summer. Now, for the summer, let me move it so you can see. I believe I have the Eye Creature and It's Alive, right? We did, and Doc's doing Curse of the Swamp Creature. Now, we did Cat and Canary, right? Over the weekend, or we filmed the other night. Silent movie, right? And it was really hard to get into, right? And it's a house movie, basically, an inheritance kind of movie where, this guy dies and everybody in the family's fighting for the inheritance kind of thing. It's a good movie. It's got a good plot. It was remade about 10 years later with Bob Hope of all people, right? But it was kind of hard to follow, but I did like, and I talked about it when we did it. It was filmed more in sepia, which is that brownish tan, for the interior, and then for the exterior, it was like a blue silver. The cinematography is a lot different than a lot of the other ones that we've gone over, right, and we've shown. The Eye Creature, Curse of the Swamp Creature, and It's Alive. 3 hysterical movies, right? Kind of movies that you'd love to drive in, right? And you guys will have a blast. Like I said, I'm doing Eye Creatures and It's Alive, and then Doc's doing Curse, and then we just did Cat and the Canary together. And then we have one that we did for September, right, called Hell High, right? And I wanted to do that one just to give us some breathing room once once the end of the summer comes around, right? So we're gonna get together in August and we're gonna do the rest. So I'm gonna be doing Cannibal Camp Out by myself, and the Doc's gonna do Funland by himself, right? Good, because I don't like clown movies and I don't like doll movies. That's the way I am, right? But Hell High, right? Great movie, right? Lots of kills, right? And as you're watching, I'm moving the wrong person. As you're watching it, right, you're gonna see a lot of like old tropes from high school and things like that, right? And the teacher that they were like messing around with, she went bonkers. She was, yeah, lot of different ways people got killed. I'm just saying, right? The number 2 pencil, you'll never look at it the same way again, right? And then the Godsend, right? I'm assuming it's a, Exorcist, that kind of movie. I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. Funland, right? Killer clowns, not my thing, right? And then Cannibal Campout. So, me and the Viking Scouts, right? We go to camp every year in Maryland, and we're going to film some scenes for that, okay? And then we're also going to be working on, I have to organize it, one of the weekends coming up, we're going to do a video short for Blobfest, okay? Now, Blobfest this year is called Camp Blobfest, right? So we're going to do a camp out blob kind of thing. We have to figure out what we're going to do. But like I said, in Hell High, that's our back to school special. So we did a lot of funny, goofy things with that. You guys will enjoy it, right? And we actually are all scheduled out to the end of the year, So October, right? I'm so looking forward to that, all right? I'm looking forward because we have Gamera, right? And Gamera is going to show so it's going to be around Halloween, right? And the reason why I wanted it then is because Godzilla's birthday is November 3rd. How do I know that? My son, right, the fireman, was born on his 50th birthday, right? And it's just funny because that's how I remember when his birthday is, by when Godzilla's birthday is, And then we also have the Abominable Mr. Phibbs, Vincent Price, right? We haven't had Vincent Price movie on yet. Great movie, right? Good B movie, and you guys will enjoy that. Girls' School Screamers, Clown Murders, and Dolly Dearest. I have no idea what any of them are about, right? And, I'm hoping Doc will take one of these, because again, like I said, I'm not a clown movie person, and I'm not a doll movie person, right? Evil doll movie. They freak me out, And then we have November's, right? November, one of the big things for November is we have our Shorty Fest, and a couple people have been asking me about it, right? People that have submitted shorts prior, right? We will be having that on Black Friday, which kind of stinks because it's on against the Eagles, right? And I think they're playing the Bears, right? So our Philadelphia and Chicago market are going to be kind of like not watching it. But I got a lot of people that have inquired, right? And we're going to include that. We got Doc and I got to watch them first. And then actually I had like 3 or 4 people send me their things, because now we're kind of getting out there with the independent movie crowd, links to their movies. And guys, I haven't had a chance to watch them yet, right? The last 3 weeks have been bonkers. I have not had... Today, honest to God, today was the first time I think I've slept in like 2 months, right? And I don't have anything to do till later, right? And later on, my wife and I are going to go out and celebrate our anniversary. And Ethan will be there, okay? But we have some great movies, right? We have Grotesque 2 with our favorite Canadian redhead, right? And Grotesque 2 is 5 times better than Grotesque. And Grotesque was really good, right? And I actually seen it because before I did the interview with Miss Chamberlain, right? I watched it just to make sure that I sort of knew a little bit more about the movie, so I didn't come in like a total idiot, right? Then Metropolis, right? Now, Metropolis, great movie, right? Classic of all classics. German German interpretism. I forget what it's called, but it was a genre, right? And we're not going to get the one with the good soundtrack, the one that they released in like the mid '80s. And it was funny because I saw that, right, with Pink Floyd's The Wall and oh God, was it Phantom of the Paradise or the Kiss at the. Anyway, they had 3 rock and roll movies at the place called the Tower Theater, world famous Tower Theater, right? David Bowie's got an album from there, and the Monkees have an album from there, and everybody in rock and roll, when they started, they played the Tower. The acoustics are great, and it's just like it's stuck in a little corner in Upper Darby, right? And it's really, really great movie house, and they have like a ton of. Like I didn't see Jay Giles there. Well, there was a story behind that, but I mean, I've seen. Oh my God, I can't run down how many, right? I've seen there, right? But anyway, so Metropolis is coming up. Couldn't get the rock soundtrack, but we got the original soundtrack, which is also amazing, right? Home Sweet Home. Oh, and by the way, Metropolis is the grandmother of robot movies. Right, and a lot of things that came out, like a lot of things in Metropolis have been redone in other movies. Okay, Home Sweet Home. I'm assuming somebody's coming home for Thanksgiving, and craziness happens, right? And then this one, Blood something or other, Blood Rage, right? Don't know what that's about. I can assume it's just a serial killer going apeshit. All right, and then. We have fill out the year with December, right? And December, you guys are going to enjoy tremendously. And I don't have it. Oh, crap. All right, let me go out and bring it up. But in December, they're going to rerun our version of Santa Claus versus the Martians, which is a great Christmas movie, right? You guys will enjoy that movie, right? We enjoyed it, right? And basically, he's going to re-show the one from last year, the one we did it last year. And let me get in there for the other ones. And then we have about 5 murder Christmas movies, right? All right. One is called Elves, right? One's called Don't Open the Christmas. And then the Christmas classic, Christmas Evil, all right? So I'm looking forward to having them on the show, right? It's going to be, and hold on, DC. Now I have it in my storage, right? And you guys will enjoy that. It's one of those fun movies, right? That tons of kills, right? But it's kind of fun when you watch it. Oh, hey, what's up, Chris? Thanks for joining in. And pretty much that's it going into the end of the year. Again, like I said, we have our anniversary show coming up. I have a ton of interviews. I still have interviews from Duckle Haven ladies. I'll have them done, right? It's just been crazy. And then a ton of interviews from Bones Bazaar. I need to get them done because I have 2 weeks to do them. So we can have them in our show. Our show's going to be expanded. If you guys noted last night, we ran about 10 minutes. Well, about 10 minutes long because we came in about 5 after 8, and then we ran an extra couple minutes, and mainly because when we were making all kinds of goofy jokes and stuff at the end, because Bigfoot was just it was a hoot. It was just one of those bad B movies, right? And then it was followed up, right, with Offbeat Cinema, our good friends at Offbeat Cinema, right? They did EGA, right, with Jaws from the Bond movies, right? And he's such a funny, nice guy actor, right? And he took his looks and made millions, right? Like again with Bond, with EGA, I can't think of all the other movies he was in, but he was in a ton of movies where he's playing the same part pretty much, the big ugly tough guy, right? And in Moonraker, where the movie that Jaws is in, right? His girlfriend's Mandela effect. His girlfriend did have braces. That was the ironic part at the end, because he smiles with the Jaws and then she smiles with braces, right? Mandela effect. It doesn't exist anymore, right? The government's messing with your minds, okay? Right? Sergeant Joe McPheer told me that, right? And he'll be doing a couple bits coming up, right? And the other thing was, hey, if you guys want to do us a favor, right? You want to send us a bit where it goes, hey, welcome to Cemetery Cinema, or watch Cemetery Cinema, right? Or do us a bigger favor, right? And do us one for our anniversary. Just go in and say, happy anniversary, Cemetery Cinema, right? We have a ton of people that did it. Elizabeth Chamberlain did it. We had a bunch of writers that did it at Bones Bazaar. We had Jim Canatelli and Lynn, who was the actors that were in X Night, right? They did a couple shout-outs for us. That's, we just want to have some stuff to run. I got the people from Offbeat Cinema. They're going to do one for us. I had asked Sally, Sally the zombie cheerleader, Mr. Lobo, and waiting to hear back from those guys, right? And then of course, right, the professor, Chris from the Haunted Microwave, right? Who drove, right? And I'm amazed. Drove 6.5 hours. I thought it was 8. Still 6.5 hours out just to meet us, hang out with us, right? He and Doc have known each other for a little bit, right? But he wanted to come out, see us, meet me, meet him, right? And him and the Doc sat and talked for hours. And it was so while the Doc sat and talked at the booth, right? And he has a podcast, Haunted Microwave, so people are asking about that. But then I went and did all my interviews and stuff, right? And it was a blast. I really had a good time. Bones, you did a really good job, right? It was a sin. The Brian Dubois, who usually does, or who was doing a thing on the history of horror, right, for Duck of Horror Haven. There wasn't a lot of people that signed up, and I get it because they have it at Widener, and the problem is the school's out, right? So that was a handful of people from Widener who would come see it, right? And then I couldn't go anyway because I was shooting that night. So they had to cancel, which was a shame, right? But their next handful of events, they have an LBTQ, and guys, I'm not making fun of it because I just don't know all the letters, right? But like it's the history of alternative, gay, lesbian horror, right? I think that's coming up June 12th. And then at the end of June, right, Jim Canatelli has 2 of his movies going to be showed. One's going to be X Night, and I forget the name of the second movie. And that's going to be it's either going to be at Duffer's or it's going to be at the Media Townhouse, right? Which is great. You can go in, order some food, have a couple pops, talk with people, right? Jim Canatelli's going to be there. I assume a bunch of the people from the movie will be there because they're all local to this area. And then, with me, like next weekend, Jim Bob Thornton, or Jim Bob, whatever his, the guy that does Joe Bob, right, does the last drive-in. He's actually going to be at the Colonial in Phoenixville. I'm trying to clear out my schedule so I can go see it, right, which will be really cool, right? And he's actually going to do an episode of the Lost Drive-In there. And then, again, we have Blobfest coming up. The Mahoning Drive-In has a ton of things coming up. And then one weekend where Mystery Science Theater is going to be there, and Matt is going to do his riff-off, right? I have, like three like, graduation parties, and it's kind of like, do I want to go? Because last time when I went, last 2 times went, I had a blast. Right, and you can camp there, right? So after the movie, I just pull the hatch down on the Beast, and I go to sleep. But the problem is, right? If it's hot, like the last 2 times I went, it rained, right? Which is okay because I'm in my car, and if you're driving, you're in the car. But it wasn't like so much you couldn't see the screen, and but it's so humid. So I go to sleep in the car. I wake up the next morning, I'm dripping wet from sweat and the humidity, right? And it was one of those. I had a whole day planned. I was going to go watch. It's either the Reading. It's not the Reading. It's either the Phillies have two teams up that area. One's Scranton and one is in Allentown. I don't know which, but I was going to go one of those games where I was up there. Right. There was no way I was going to go. I didn't even go get breakfast. Right. Because I didn't want to do a drive-in because I smelled so bad. That's how bad it was. Right. So, like I said, I'm going this year, right, and I'm going to try to make it. I want to try to go twice this year, but I definitely want to go when Mystery Science Theater is there because Joel is such a nice guy, and he will sign anything. He will talk to you, right? He's given me advice on, doing stuff with the show and all that. And the first thing he said to me when I went up to him last year was, hey, how's your show going? And the show was only on for a couple months. So he's really, really nice guy, But, all right. That's about all I got. I have a review for Lilo and Stitch that I have to do. It was funny. I was getting ready to produce. I was getting ready to edit it, right? And what happened? I ran in the background. I ran the trailer for the movie, right? And the sound was on, so you couldn't hear me, right? You could hear the hell out of Stitch, though, right? You can hear Lilo and Nanya, right? But so I'll probably have that later on today. All right. It's the Mad Darbarian for Cemetery Cinema WONTV for you and the wake. See ya. Stop streaming.